Welcome to this Java Break with Basis. My name is Nico Spence. I'm the Chairman and CEO of Basis International. And today we're going to have a look at a sneak peek of the upcoming series of Java Breaks that are going to cover customer successes with BBx. In today's brief introduction, we'll touch on the various sessions that we'll cover in upcoming Java Breaks. So let's look at today's session agenda. Firstly, as I said, it's a sneak peek into the upcoming series. We'll be looking at practical use cases from our developer and end user communities. Hopefully you'll see similarities to your own business needs and you'll be able to replicate that success in your own application. We'll have a look at a technology overview, quickly touch on the various technologies that we'll showcase in the upcoming series, and then we'll look at the series highlights. So today will be a brief overview of each of the upcoming more detailed success stories with BBx. And then we'll summarize today's session and take your questions. So firstly, the technology overview. Some of them are large user count Pro 5 systems. Some of them are moderate 5 to 25 user count Visual Pro 5 systems. And there are a couple of large user count BBJ systems. We'll be looking at how customers have taken advantage of data replication, used triggers, used Xcall, Barista, and the browser user interface to solve their business needs. Let's look at the first one. The first one is a healthcare company that used to run daily time-consuming bulk extracts from their Pro 5 database. This was necessary to fuel an Oracle operational data store. Although the Pro 5 system had more than 800 users, it was just a small part of the data that was feeding into the Oracle operational data store. So the problems they were facing was that the window was becoming too small due to the data volume growth. In other words, the time available to do this bulk update was shrinking. Data was also swiftly out of date. 24 hours can be significant if you're looking at claim processing and doing inquiries on an operational data store, which is 24 hours behind the production database. So the solution was to move to the BBJ database. This allowed them to feed their data warehouse via triggers, so there were no batch jobs involved. We could apply the changes in near real time, which streamlined the processes to efficiently handle the increasing user and transaction loads. So instead of having to copy across all of the data, only writes and or removes were copied across to the operational data store. It went to a staging area, and now updates were applied every hour. That allowed the data to be near real time and eliminated the problem of the data being out of date. So this is what the structure looked like. Here we had the production system running Pro 5, as I said, some 800 users running the Pro 5 interpreters, but they were acting on the data through the BBJ Pro 5 data server. So hitting this database, the triggers were able to fire for all the writes and the removes on the data files that were important that were being transferred to Oracle. And hourly, the Oracle database operational data store could be updated. And therefore the users that were accessing the operational data store would have access to real-time information. And of course the volume of transactions compared to a bulk update was probably only about a tenth. That meant that the overhead on the system was not as significant as a bulk update. So we'll look at that in more detail, perhaps get you some source code of the actual triggers to see what was being run, and give you a feel for the transactional volumes, remembering of course that triggers over here are actually BBJ interpreters that are running against the same BBJ database, while the 800 interactive users are running through the Pro 5 interpreters. The next success story we'll look at is a vertical market construction app developer who needed to provide mobile access to their Visual Pro 5 app in the field. So the solution was to migrate the app to BBJ and take advantage of the browser user interface. That addressed the paperwork nightmare on site. Electronic ordering could take place on site via mobile devices, be they smartphones or tablet devices. Job updates and payroll updates could also take place on site. So remote job entry could take place through the mobile devices. So this is what the original system looked like, Visual Pro 5, the back office with data perhaps being faxed through from the job site. And now suddenly by moving across to BBJ, the browser user interface made the application accessible via the mobile devices on site. Another success story that we'll cover is a challenge faced by a major health plan who wanted to give live access to their providers, their healthcare providers, to the status of their members. In other words, the health plan members' validity of their health coverage needed to be checked by the provider when they came to delivering the service to the members of the health plan. And the solution was to take advantage of the browser user interface to create a portal to the Pro5 production data. So here we have the Pro5 system, several hundred users, and what they did is installed BBJ on a separate server and provided access to the Pro5 data via the Pro5 data server, and this fueled the BUI application that could now run on a browser on the provider's desktop, or indeed it could run on laptops or tablet type devices. Another success story we'll look at is the challenge faced by a Visual Pro5 club management software provider who wanted to easily provide email functionality to their vertical market application. And the solution was to take advantage of Xcall, the facility whereby you can call BBJ programs from within Visual Pro5 or Pro5 code. This has helped ease the migration to object-oriented programming and BBJ. So they could selectively harness the power of BBJ, and no Java experience was required to take advantage of the Java-based email utility that Basis supplies. So in this scenario, we have both Visual Pro5 and BBJ being able to be executed. The BBJ as an email functionality can be executed on the server via the Xcall verb. This next challenge was one that one of our vertical market partners had, where they wanted to add new functionality and features to their existing solid Visual Pro5 GUI vertical market solution. The answer was to take advantage of Barista to modernize their legacy app in a heartbeat, while adding tons of new built-in features and functions, without them having to invest a significant amount of time to deliver that value to their customers. So Barista's built-in feature and function, here's a really good example of the role-based security, where you can set up by role whether you have access to view or modify particular fields within a data file. So that's just one example. Some of the other key Barista features is the ability to do auditing, so track the changes to records right down to the field level, see the old value, the new value, the date and the time that somebody has changed it and who changed it. There are powerful doc-out features with emailing, faxing, archiving, and the interface to Google Docs all built in to every single report within the system. And one-click access to the doc-out from your queries. So if you have a grid-type query, you can very quickly output that into a report, into a PDF or an XML or XLS type file format. Copy and paste function in inquiry screens, being able to automatically export that to Excel or to PDF formats. Navigational aids, user favorites, history of last process, last program run is easily accessible by the user. Saved report settings can be private or shared, and by so doing really make report running a one-click process. And of course, Barista accommodates multiple workforce languages, allowing the vertical market developer to take advantage of the translation tools that Basis ships with the product and easily integrate into Barista. This next success story may have resonance with many of our customers in the market. The challenge is faced by a self-programming end-user customer with a dated system containing loads of customization, but who needed a modern user interface that was more efficient, less complex, with a lower cost of maintenance. The solution was to move to 3-tier architecture, separating out their data, their logic, and the presentation layers, and go GUI in stages, again taking advantage of some of the features and function that Barista offers. So the interim deployment looks like this, with BBJ and Pro5 running on the same server, and load balance Citrix terminal servers powering a multitude of desktops, either running BBJ or running Pro5 in a character-based environment through Wise or NeoWare clients. The ultimate deployment will remove any reliance on any Pro5 in the system and still deliver some character-based, but slowly migrate across to the GUI by virtue of some of Barista's functionality. So in summary today, we've tried to give you a taste of what's coming up. There may be some others we'll add as the series progresses, but these success stories that we've touched on today will be covered in more detail telling you more about the practicalities of the deployments, the user counts, the technology that's currently in use, and the new technology that was applied to resolve the challenges that they faced. So this sneak peek today looked at practical use cases from our developer community, and hopefully you'll see similarities to your own business needs. The technology overview touched on the kinds of systems that we will showcase, and we went through a quick run through some of the series highlights. If you have your own success story to share, please contact your account manager and we'll make you part of the series. So let's take your questions.